You know, sometimes I feel pretty alienated from the modern video game industry, which sucks. I've been gaming for 38 years now. It's been my primary hobby. I literally collect consoles, and yet there hasn't been a single game on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series that makes me actually want to buy one of those consoles. Every single one of those PlayStation State of Plays I look at and I go, there's nothing here for me. And listening to other people in the fandom, I feel even more alienated, seeing the games that they're excited for, as well as just how overwhelmingly PC-centric everything is now. I feel like I don't belong, and it's really depressing. And then a Nintendo Direct hits, and the script just completely flips. I swear Nintendo Directs are the funniest freaking things. They trend on Twitter for like months. Everyone's got their own theories about what's totally going to be shown in this latest Nintendo Direct, and it's going to be so amazing. And, you know, there's all these supposed leaks and rumors, and then the Direct actually hits, and everyone gets so angry. They're just baffled and don't understand where these games come from, and they're, excuse me, doing this off the cuff. They are just so, just nuts about it, and they get so mad, and I'm just sitting here, it's like, have you learned nothing? Like, it's like they literally don't even understand how the Directs work. These are a quarterly thing. They do it once a quarter, and they only cover the games coming out in that quarter. The last Direct, which I'm still basking in the afterglow of, was just the stuff from August to November. This latest Direct is just the stuff from December to March. They didn't show any April stuff. Of course, it didn't help that there was this leak that there was going to be a Donkey Kong and F-Zero game, and they wound up not being the Donkey Kong and F-Zero games everyone wanted. Immediately after the Direct, everyone was pissed and referring to it as that Direct. That is, until people started throwing around this concept that, oh, of course the Direct was disappointing, because you see in the next Direct, they're going to announce the Switch 2, which is totally coming, like, just minutes away from the Switch 2, you know, which, that'll get its own video, but I think we still got 2 years before the Switch 2, if we're being honest here. But anyway, now people have sort of recovered, and they're a lot more positive towards this Direct, and you know what, whatever, because I loved all of it. But here's the thing, that Direct didn't show everything. There's actually a ton more games as well. So here's how we're doing it. We're going to start with the games that weren't in the Direct. Then we're going to move on to the lesser games in the Direct that people got really confused by. Oh my gosh, I love the reactions. People are so stumped by these games. But we'll talk about the smaller games in the Direct. We'll talk about a few of the games from the previous Direct that people are forgetting about. And then at the end, we'll talk about the major games that are coming, because you already know about those. So, let's get started. Number 1, Air Twister is coming to consoles. I can finally cancel my Apple Arcade subscription. What is Air Twister? Well, it's a new rail shooter from Yu Suzuki, the maker of Space Harrier, and it's basically a Space Harrier Panzer Dragoon hybrid. It was designed for touchscreens, but works great on gamepad. I've been playing it. It came out last year, and yeah, now we will have a hard copy, and I haven't wanted to talk too much about it, because I really want there to be a hard copy before I do, because there's some stuff that you might get removed, and I don't want it to. Anyway, what is Air Twister? Well, what it plays like is like a combination of Space Harrier and Panzer Dragoon. It's very straightforward, only one button. Basically, you move around the screen, it'll automatically lock on the enemies, then you press the button to fire off at them. However, I don't normally like so much homing stuff, but it works kind of well here, and you can rapidly hammer the button to put more bullets down range, so I do appreciate that as well. The game's like 15 stages long, but you have to beat it in a single sitting, so they've actually set it up really cool. There's a bunch of bonus modes, tons of unlockables, you can dress up your character and everything, and the way it works is there is an arcade mode where you have to do everything in a single sitting with default stats. However, every time you play, you earn stars, which you can spend to get unlockables, and these unlockables include adding more weapons and more health and just generally more power. And I think at the very end of the upgrade road is one that gives you, like, optional invincibility you can equip or something. So the idea is, if you're good, you can sit down and beat the game in a single sitting on arcade mode. Or, If you're not so good, because the game's pretty tricky, you just keep slamming your head against it until you unlock enough abilities to get through it. The thing that makes it even crazier, though, is the music. They got this, like, oh, geez, I forget what country they're from. I want to say it's Swedish, but it's some Queen cover band called Valencia that was apparently really popular in Japan. Like, they had an album called Cosmos, and they actually, like, retired a couple years back. They've come out of retirement just to do original Queen-esque music for Air Twister.
She's meeting the demons, you tried to shoot a lock on, that's why she's visiting the demons tonight. Oh, Air Twister, if you could be soaring this one and meet the enemy. Oh, Air Twister, if we could see them creatures locked down by the radar. Is anybody know me? I'm here. Is there anybody know me? I'm here.
So the game actually comes off like Panzer Harrier the Musical. That's what it is. I'm very excited to finally get a home port of it. I can confirm it's not like super fast-paced crazy, but it is a very nice chill rail shooter. Man, it's very good, and I can't wait to buy like the special edition, because there will be one. Next up, Assault Suit Lanos 2 is coming as a Saturn tribute game. So yeah, that means it'll probably have a little bit of input delay, but very happy we're getting this. I'm hearing rumors it might actually get translated, not betting on that. What is that? Will you ever play the Super Nintendo game Cybernator, which actually recently got a Switch release that has like a new retranslation, tons of bonus features under the title Assault Suit Vulcan? Well, this is the closest thing to a proper sequel to that game, because Assault Suit Vulcan 2 is a strategy game. Assault Suit Lanos 2 is like Cybernator, but on Saturn. Unfortunately, I know it's very short and content sparse, but what is there is really, really good. So, and it's also ludicrously expensive on Saturn, so it's good that we're going to be getting this at a lower price, more accessible. Next up, Final Exarion just came out this week before I could get around to recording this. It is a modern-ish, it's like a 90s arcade-style version sequel to the old 1983 arcade game Exarion. I've played it, review forthcoming. It's pretty fun, pretty wild, but it is one of those things that just makes you go, wait, why is this happening? Yo, who said, hey, let's make a new Exarion? Well, a while back after Jellico went out of business, a bunch of City Connection fans formed a company literally called City Connection and bought the rights to all of Jellico's old stuff, and now they're just letting anyone who wants to go in there and make new entries. So, aside from Final Exarion, we've also got a new Formation Z coming out, as well as a new Rushing Beat Brawl Brothers game coming out of Sweden, of all things, called Rushing Beat X Return of the Brawl Brothers. So, yeah, I do admit, graphics don't look great. Would have probably been better if it was 2D, but I'm actually kind of excited that it's 3D, because I haven't seen 3D air combos and everything's been 2D pixel art, so it's nice that they're breaking from tradition there. It looks a little rough, but I'm loving these new character designs. I'm loving this Kahlua. I can't wait to give it a shot. It could be really bad, it could be really great, could be acquired taste. But if you want a more guaranteed likable beat 'em up, River City Rival Showdown. I am so happy we're getting this. You see, on the 3DS, they released 3 new River City Ransom games. River City Tokyo Rumble, River City Rival Showdown, and River City Knights of Justice. However, them being on 3DS, they didn't really have multiplayer, and they were a bit difficult to get a hold of the hard copies. Knights of Justice was digital only, and I've always hoped that they would port them to Switch, and well, now we're getting one. But Rival Showdown is literally a remake of the original River City Ransom, but it's so extreme, it's practically an entirely new game. They've basically turned it into Yakuza, where it's got like tons of weird events and cutscenes and weird things that happen, a bigger city. It takes place over the course of 3 days with a day-night cycle and tons more to do and more moves. It is a massive, crazy thing. Just Imagine if River City Ransom was literally Yakuza, and that's what Rival Showdown is. But this isn't just a straight port. They are adding in 2-player local co-op, as well as 2 new campaigns. After you beat the game, you can play as the villain and find out his side of the story, and you can also unlock the ability to find out Ricky's side of the story. And there's a 2-player versus fighting mode that will have online multiplayer, which seems to suggest that the main campaign isn't going to have online multiplayer, but that's fine. I understand that due to how text-heavy this new game is. But I'm very excited that this is coming out, that we'll have a Switch version. I'm going to play the crap out of that. However, speaking of which, Double Dragon Collection was also announced, which will have Double Dragons 1, 2, and 3 NES versions, the recent Double Dragon 4, which is NES styled, along with Super Double Dragon and Double Dragon Advance. It's here that you're probably going, wait, hold on. Didn't we already get these on Switch? And you're right, because there's the Double Dragon Kunio collection that I highly recommend, which already has 1, 2, 3. You can buy 4 separately. And as such, they are selling Super Double Dragon and Double Dragon Advance separately as downloads. There will just be a physical of the actual collection. The big question then is, will Double Dragon Advance have co-op play? Like, especially local co-op. It's plausible. We've seen it done with the Neo Geo Pocket Color games, but we don't know if they're going to do it here. I've got my fingers crossed. Even if not, I'm very excited to get my hands on Double Dragon Advance, and what this means is that almost every Double Dragon is available on Switch. You can get 1 and 2 through arcade archives, like the arcade versions, so we're only missing the arcade version of 3, the 3 fighting games, Double Dragon 5, Double Dragon Neo Geo, and Rage of the Dragons, if you want to count that. And, of course, the Brizo Interactive games, which are the ones that really matter. That's the Zeebo and the iPhone Android game, and those are the best ones, and I would really like it if we could get those. But even then, we've got, like, every other Double Dragon, so that's pretty good. Moving on, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 looks incredible, and you're probably going, wait, what was the deal with that previous game? Why do we care about this licensing? Okay, here's the thing. The developers of the original Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl are actually, like, competitive Smash players. They had previously made an indie Smash game called Slap City. Then they managed to strike a deal with Nickelodeon to make a Nickelodeon-themed Smash clone, and they did, and it felt great. The problem was it was super low budget, so it didn't have character voices, the single player was incredibly sparse, and there were some, you couldn't do 4-player online on, like, non-next-gen systems, so that kind of sucked, but the rollback netcode was pretty good. So it played fine, but it just felt so wrong. All-Star Brawl 2 is a massive upgrade. It has voices, it's going to have crossplay, and it's going to have proper single-player, both a story mode and some kind of crazy roguelike mode. So that's looking fun. And on top of that, they're drastically overhauling the graphics, adding new characters, adding new moves, and adding in Guilty Gear mechanics. Yes, there's a meter now. And you could use that meter to do EX moves, do bursts, do Roman cancels, and when you have a full 3-stock meter, you can do a Final Smash-esque super move. So this game is looking nuts, and the characters they're putting in are insane. It's got Ember. And before anyone brings up that person, I would like to remind you that we shouldn't let the terrorists win. No, we shouldn't just ban Ember from ever being used again. No, we need to main Ember so we can tap dance on their grave and go, I'm an Ember main and you're not because you're rotting in hell for being a murderer. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Moving on, Hyperdimension Neptunia Game Maker R Evolution. I'm a little worried about this because it's using an action battle system, and Neptunia had such a good turn-based battle system starting with Mark II. And the last Neptunia game I played was Neptunia X Senran Kagura at Ninja Wars, and that game was hot steaming garbage. So I'm a little worried, but some people seem to like how the previous Neptunia game turned out. Okay, why do I care? Because this game introduces 3 new characters as mains. Pippi, Ridio, and Jaga. The Apple Pippin, 3DO, and Atari Jaguar are the main characters of the game. Do you have any idea how long I've waited for them to put the Atari Jaguar in a Neptunia game? Like, I'm so hyped for that, it's stupid. Like, the literal plot is that, like, older Neptune goes back in time to save the 3DO Jaguar and Pippin. I'm in, let's save the Jaguar. And yes, Japan does know about the Jaguar. It is a legend over there because it flopped so hard. Only like 5,000 Japanese Jaguars were like ever sold. So it's like a legend among collectors, not for being good, but for being obscenely rare. Moving on from that, one that was announced last Direct only in Japan, and now we have an even better trailer, Mameda Bakeru. Now you're looking at this and you're going, wow, that looks a lot like Goemon, because it is Goemon. You see, Konami's basically an empty husk of a company, so the original Goemon developers left, and now they're making a new Goemon that's all like taiko drum based. I just saw the latest trailer saying it's coming out at the end of November, and oh my gosh, it looks amazing. Like, this looks like a platformer action beat-em-up thing. It's got side-scrolling sections, got rail shooter sections, it's got giant mecha battles. Like, this looks like not some little dinky release. This looks almost like one of the first-party Nintendo releases, and it is Switch exclusive. This game looks like an absolute blast. Unfortunately, absolutely zero talk about a US release, so I might wind up importing this, because this just looks really, really fun. Moving on, announced in this Direct only in Japan, the fourth fitness boxing game got announced, Fitness Boxing Hatsune Miku. Now, I've tried to, like, I want to enjoy the fitness boxing games, except the problem with them is that your punches don't actually go with the music. They're completely separate. The Hatsune Miku game looks like your punches might actually go with the music, so it might actually be a punch-based music game. But you know what? That doesn't matter, because they also announced Fitness Boxing Hop Step Dance, and this I am hyped for. It's, as you can see, a straight-up Joy-Con based dancing game, and after the recent release of Samba de Amigo Party Central, I realized how badly the Switch needs this. Because here's a question, when was the last time you had a music game where you actually stood up and danced around that wasn't Just Dance, and Just Dance doesn't count because it's not a real video game? Don't get me started, it's a mess, okay? Yeah, like, there hasn't been a new DDR in years. There's Beat Saber, but that requires a VR headset. Like, Samba de Amigo Party Central is the first, pretty much the first one on Switch to really make me get up and move. And for the record, after having spent some more time with it and put some weights on the controller, it actually got really fun. It's kind of easy to trick, but that game is actually pretty darn good, and I need to get around to reviewing that. But either way, I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the only one. And Hop Step Dance, of course, it will be a second one that works in a completely different manner, and that's super cool. But more than that, it also solves another problem, because I was literally complaining about this. It has characters who dance in it. And this is a thing I've noticed. Like, there have been a bunch of crazy music rhythm games that have come out, but like all the ones in arcades are like these super clean, super bland interfaces of just scrolling notes and crazy controllers that look like washing machines. And then, like, the other ones that actually have characters, they don't dance, they do random things to the music, like the friggin' Headbangers Pigeon game or Super Crazy Rhythm Castle. And that's pissing me off, because I got into music games because of Bust a Groove. My favorite thing about music games is seeing these rendered characters dance to the music, and we haven't gotten that in forever, and it's driving me nuts. So yes, Fitboxing Hop Step Dance has dancing characters, and that makes me happy. While we're on that topic, Gunvolt music game got announced. Gunvolt Records Psy Chronicle, which is apparently it's all like preset videos that it doesn't look like you have much control over, and it's mostly just scrolling notes. But I'm just happy to see some dancing characters in a game again. That makes me very happy. So, yeah, even though I don't know much of anything about Gunvolt, other than the fact that the original DSiWare download was a complete disaster in terms of localization, I'm still excited for this. Now that about finishes up the stuff that wasn't in the Direct section. let's move on to the quote-unquote lesser games in the Direct, starting, of course, with Unicorn Overlord. Yes, we were just talking about this game, me and my friends. It's like, hey, when's the next Vanillaware game? We haven't seen anything since 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and here it freaking is. It looks to be an ogre battle style RTS turn-based hybrid strategy game. If you've never played Ogre Battle, it is actually a real-time strategy game where you tell units to move across the map and they're all moving at the same time, and then when the two units collide, it goes to a separate battle screen where it zooms in and shows them fighting, and that's what this looks like. This isn't Vanillaware's first go at this, though. There was a PSP game called Grand Night Story, Grand Night Chronicles, something like that. It didn't come to America, but there was, and maybe my computer screen shouldn't black out in the middle of me recording, but there was that, and then after that, a chunk of Vanillaware split off and made a strategy game called Grand Kingdom that was fantastic, and I really need to talk about it, but that game takes a lot out of me. And I'm not sure what happened to the Grand Kingdom crew. I'm wondering if they got reabsorbed into Vanillaware, but, you know, here we go. Second and a half strategy game from Vanillaware. Very happy to see this. The one thing that's one thing that makes me very, very happy is the fact that there's non-human races here. You have absolutely no clue how rare it is to see an anthropomorphic animal girl in a Japanese video game. It's very rare. It's a cultural thing. It kind of deserves its own rant because it explains why Sonic makes out with human girls all the time. But that's a story for another time. I'm very happy to see that. But one thing that drives me nuts is all the people who are like, oh yeah, I can tell it's Vanillaware because of the boobs. I hate how they have this reputation of being the booby game company because of Dragon's Crown, when Dragon's Crown is like such a huge departure from what Vanillaware normally does. Like, I'm gonna be blunt, I think George Kamitani is like the most feminist game developer in all of Japan, which sounds nuts until you actually look at his gamography. Every single game he has ever made either has a female lead or a female character option somewhere in it. The first game that proto-Vanillaware made was Princess Crown, which was all about an armored princess who wanted to grow up to be a brave demon-slaying queen like her mother. And pretty much every other Vanillaware game has used a very cute storybook aesthetic, where characters have large heads and small bodies. And while there's usually a sexy lady somewhere in the game, it's not like the main focus of the game. Like, seriously, go play Grim Grimoire. The main girl of that is, like, completely super not sexualized. Dragon's Crown was a completely different visual style. It was a tribute to old American pen and paper tabletop games, and you can tell that because the characters have small heads and big bodies, which is like Japanese shorthand for Western art. You can actually see this in F-Zero and Anarchy Reigns. When Japan wants to do American style, it's small head, big body. Like, even All Might's kind of like that when you think about it. And that actually brings me to this game. This game looks a good bit different from typical Vanillaware. Looks a little bit closer to Grand Kingdom, honestly. But I'm noticing that this game has medium-sized heads and medium-sized bodies. Like, they're actually regularly proportioned. So that's kind of interesting. Just a thing I wanted to bring up because I get so fed up with everyone judging Vanillaware entirely based on Dragon's Crown, as much as I adore Dragon's Crown. Moving on, the big question mark. Saga Emerald Beyond. Oh my gosh, no one knows what to think of this game, and it might deserve its own separate video. But I'm very excited. We haven't had a new Saga in a while. And I think a lot of people, like, I've never played a Saga. I know it's an ongoing Square Enix series. What's it about? Does this look good? I don't even know what I'm looking at. Here's the thing. Saga games are, number one, not really related to one another, and number two, a massive mixed bag. They are created by someone who is obsessed with deep, complex mechanics and freedom and choice more than story. Their stories are usually very weak, and their mechanics are usually very deep and complicated, and sometimes they wind up so complicated that they wind up backfiring. Saga games are a coin toss. They are either one of the most incredible RPGs you'll ever play in your life, or completely unplayable, indecipherable, overcomplicated gibberish. So let's go with what I see here in Emerald Beyond. Number one, they did bring back the race mechanics from the older Saga games, wherein you have humans, espers, monsters, and robots who all level up differently. So it's cool to see that back. Next up, you've got 5 different selectable characters, 2 male, 2 female, and 1 robot. Each one will have their own story, similar to the Romancing Saga games and Saga Frontier, and similar to the old Saga and Saga Frontier, we will be traveling across multiple worlds, and it seems pretty nuts. The presentation looks a lot like Saga Scarlet Graces. The combat system looks a lot like Saga Scarlet Graces. That's generally a good thing, because Scarlet Graces has a phenomenal battle system, but that's like the only part of the game. Saga Scarlet Graces tried to, like, quote-unquote simplify RPGs by just having a world map and battles and nothing else. No towns, no dungeons, just a world map, some walls of text, and some combat. And it was, like, the deepest and most challenging turn-based combat in the history of turn-based RPGs, but that was the entire game. This looks like they're taking that and fleshing it out into a more proper RPG with towns and dungeons and multiple worlds. I've heard some people complain that, parts of this game look good and parts don't. And yeah, this game is definitely being made on a small budget, which is something I really like that Square Enix is doing these days. I really like that they're making these smaller budget games, and a part of that is because this game will be available on iPhone and Android as well. It's not going to be a gacha game, though. It's going to be like a full-fat, full-priced RPG, but you can buy it on mobile if you want, or on Switch, and I think it's coming to PlayStation as well. By the way, very important side note, if you pay attention, there are more characters than just the 5 that you can select at the beginning. Those are just the main characters. Each one has side characters. This looks like the closest thing to a proper sequel to Saga Frontier 1 that we've seen in a while, for better or for worse. I actually don't like Saga Frontier 1. I like Saga 2, the DS remake of Saga 3, and Romancing Saga 2. I kind of can't stand the entire rest of this franchise, and yet I'm still excited for this, because when they get it right, they get it very right. Saga 2, especially the DS remake, is my favorite RPG of all time, and like my second favorite game of all time. It's so good. So yeah, no, excited for Saga Emerald Beyond. Moving on, Eiyuden Chronicles. I'm disturbed that people forgot about this. So you probably looked at this and said, hey, this looks a lot like Suikoden. That's because it is. Remember how I said that Konami is a shallow husk of what it once was, just a few minutes ago? Yeah, this is more of that. So the Suikoden team actually left Konami, formed their own company, and did a Kickstarter for their own Suikoden, which is Eiyuden Chronicles. And then Konami caught wind of this and said, oh yeah, well, Suikoden 1 and 2 collection. And people were kind of pissed about that, because it's like, what the heck, you're just trying to steal Eiyuden Chronicles sales. But hey, the proper answer is you buy both. But I'm a little disturbed because people are looking at Eiyuden Chronicles, they're like, this looks a lot like Suikoden, and they don't remember the whole history behind it. No, Eiyuden Chronicles is actually literally a new Suikoden. So if you like Suikoden, you should be excited for Eiyuden Chronicles. This isn't knockoff Suikoden. This is the new Suikoden. So I don't want to see y'all going out there buying Suikoden 1 and 2 going, oh, I wish they'd make a new Suikoden. No, it's right there. It's right there. It's coming. Finally. I'm very excited for this. If you don't know what Suikoden is, it's an RPG with a ludicrous number of characters, like over 100, that you are trying to recruit, and you have a castle as a base of operation. And yeah, it's neat because of that. The original game especially had like army battles and stuff, and I always thought that was super cool. So yeah, Eiyuden Chronicles looks like a good time. Next up, I am amused that slice of life has become a game genre, because they did that with the Crayon Shin-chan game, and there's actually a sequel to that announced in Japan. But hey, Spy X Family game where you play as Anya. And this amuses me because anyone who hasn't watched the anime is completely baffled, and anyone who has, like, totally gets it. And I have. It's a great anime. If you're not familiar, the premise of the anime is that this legendary super spy who can assume any identity is told that he has to become a married family man with a child within 2 weeks, then get that child enrolled into the most prestigious school in the country, then get her on the honor roll so that way she can be friends with the son of this target that this guy's trying to collect information from, and he's trying to pull that off. And he managed to pull together a family in 2 weeks, because as it turned out, there was a skilled assassin who needed a fake family to appear normal, and a little orphan girl who's a psychic and desperately wants a family. And also she's like a huge fan of spies. So they all work, but they're all keeping secrets from one another. Like, the wife doesn't know her husband is a spy, the husband doesn't know his wife is an assassin, and the only person who knows all of this is the little girl because she's a psychic. And so the joke is that all three of these characters need a fake family, and they actually make like the most perfect family you've ever seen, with the sub-joke being that even an impossibly hyper-skilled super spy and assassin family still has trouble raising a child. So the Spy X Family game looks incredibly adorable, and I'm not sure if it's going to be good or not, but if I'm going to take a chance on a slice of life game, it's going to be this one. Moving on to something a bit more action-packed, Contra Operation Galuga, coming to us from Way Forward. I heard a bunch of people complaining about the graphics. I think they look fine, except that I'm seeing frame rate issues in the trailer, and that has me very, very worried. It's coming to all the consoles, and that actually makes me even more worried, because I'm like, is this even going to perform well on Switch? Like, are you going to optimize this for Switch? The fact that it's Way Forward actually has me a bit happy, because they're actually huge Contra fans. Like, Matt Bozon has said that Contra 3 is literally his favorite game of all time, which was why Contra 4 was just such a big deal for him. But at the same time, Way Forward kind of sucks at 3D, so this could go really badly. And honestly, I'm not normally a big Contra fan, but the fact that this is 4-player and has a bunch of characters, they're adding in 2 female characters, you've got a probotector in there, I'm very happy about that. So it looks like it's going to have some stuff here. As long as it runs well, this could be really fun, or it could be a disaster. I'm pretty excited, though. Now, WarioWare Move It. Oh my gosh, this is such a perfect example of just how kind of brilliant Nintendo's strategy is. Because here's the thing. This is basically a sequel to WarioWare Smooth Moves, which is one of the most beloved WarioWare games out there. Like, WarioWare and crappy motion control go together very well. This game looks very fleshed out and very fun, and I guarantee you it was thrown together in like a year or less, and we're all going to pay whatever price it costs because this game looks super fun. And that's one of the things I really love about Nintendo, is the fact that they are putting out these smaller games. That it's not all just AAA stuff, that they're putting out these smaller games that we all get excited for because they're super fun, which brings us at last to F-Zero 99, and boy howdy is this one funny to me. Because everyone was complaining about it, everyone was super salty, it wasn't a big new F-Zero game, they really wish it was GX, they thought it was crap, and then they played it and they found out the game is effing amazing. Now the funny thing is that Maximilian Dude actually threw this out as an idea like more than 3 years ago. He was like, it would work really, like around the time Pac-Man 99 came out, it was like, it would work really well as a 99 game because people were throwing around ideas. F-Zero, and he's right, because F-Zero is normally a 40-person race. So 99's only a little bit more. This actually, this did make sense. But the even funnier thing is why this even exists. As it turned out, I got a little YouTube video on this. As it turned out, a year ago, some F-Zero fan in Japan spent $40,000 buying shares of Nintendo. So that way he could show up at the shareholder meeting in person and ask for F-Zero, to which their response was, okay, so we've got a lot of franchises, and we're trying to pay attention to all of them, but we got a lot on our plate, but we'll keep that in mind. Or in other words, oh crap, one of our major investors directly called out the franchise by name. We got to do something. And so they likely threw this together in less than a year. In fact, come to find out, it's not made by Eureka like the other 99 games. This is made by Nintendo of America, which really blows my mind. They did a fantastic job. Netcode's great, gameplay's great. They added in the spin attacks. It's not just the Super Nintendo game. It's just based on the Super Nintendo game, and I do hope they expand it. It's the best 99. It is the best of the 99 games. And I'm having an absolute blast with it. And I know there's a lot of people, I wish it was GX. Here's the thing, and the reason why they haven't announced a new F-Zero, they have outright said they don't think they can top F-Zero GX. They can't do F-Zero GX again. And the reason why is because F-Zero GX is not a Nintendo game. It's a Sega game. It was developed by Amusement Vision, and Amusement Vision doesn't exist. And Sega has, specifically a lot of experience in the racing game genre. So, yeah. Nintendo's just like, we can't beat Sega in this one. We can't make a game like that. And so, just adding 99 player to F-Zero GX is a bigger task than you think. Even adding 40 player to it is a bigger task than you think. Maybe it's possible, but that's going to take some work. And so basically, the reason why they haven't made a new F-Zero is because they know it'll be worse than GX and everyone will complain about it and throw a fit. So with F-Zero 99, they're finding out how many players actually care about F-Zero, how long are they going to stick with it, and do they mind if it's not GX because we literally can't make GX again, while also being a netcode test, because I guarantee you they want the next game to have 40-player online because that would make it unique and original. So, yeah, F-Zero 99, going pretty good, definitely liking it. Moving on, quote-unquote lesser games announced last Direct. First of all, Pokemon's real rival is back. Y'all think it's Pokemon versus Digimon. No, Pokemon versus Dragon Quest Monsters. And the announcement of Dragon Quest Monsters 3, The Dark Prince, is very delightful. Unfortunately, the trailer is crap. Like so many other trailers, it's all story event scenes, and then, very little actual gameplay, which in other games would make them look too good. But in Dragon Quest Monsters 3, those are actually the worst looking parts of the game. The best looking part is running around and getting into monster battles. The environments look great. The monster models look good. The battle animations look good. The trailer is actually the worst looking part because the cutscenes are just characters standing around emoting at one another while the camera's too zoomed in on their faces. Thankfully, they have put out a demo for this game that you can download for free and get a head start, as the data will transfer over. Not all. What it'll be is you will be able to get the monsters that you have from the demo, but not their levels and skills. They'll all be level 1 when you get them. And I think you'll be starting the story progress over and stuff. And that makes sense. So no, getting level 99 monsters in the demo and steamrolling the full game. But you'll be able to have a nice big collection of F-rank monsters. You can only get F-ranks in the demo. But you'll have a nice big collection of F-rank monsters to give you a good head start. As for why Dragon Quest Monsters is a deal, the main thing is the breeding/fusion mechanic, where skills and traits from the parents can be brought into the child, and that allows you to make some ludicrously super powerful monsters out of things that shouldn't be that powerful. They've definitely changed things up since the first game, because now the way it works is that each monster has 2 skill trees, and when you fuse, they get 4 skill trees. The 2 that they have naturally, and then 2 inherited from parents. And I'm not sure if this is going to make the monster fusion stronger or weaker than it was in the first game. I think it might be a bit weaker, but we'll see. Some fans have complained about the fact that they have announced that there will only be 2 sizes of monsters, as in Dragon Quest Monsters Joker on the DS, monsters came in 1, 2, 3, and 4 slot sizes. Here, it's just 1 and 2 slot. Turns out that's because the big monsters actually hurt the Japanese competitive meta, which does matter. This is going to have, online competitive play, and Japan cares a lot about this. What's really wild, though, is that this game is actually a prequel to Dragon Quest IV. You're actually playing as the end boss of that game, who was a catchable monster before, but as, before he turned into a monster, before he turned evil and became a villain. So this is also important for fans of that game. I've played the demo. It is very fun. The monsters can be seen on the map. It's got like this seasonal and weather system. And it also has speed up and auto battle, which will make the grinding very pleasant. What I've played of it seems really fun, and I highly recommend giving the demo a shot. What also has a demo, though, is Star Ocean 2 R, which I'm so happy we're getting this, even though me and Star Ocean have a very, very rough history. You see, Star Ocean is a long-running series, but Star Ocean 2 is generally considered the best. In recent times, people have said Star Ocean 3. I don't know what's wrong with them. Star Ocean 2 was the one, and that's because that game was beefy. It had, like, all these skills and all these things you could do. You could just craft random items for no good reason that did the most random things. It had 2 different protagonists, and then, like, getting certain characters on your team would prevent you from getting other characters on your team and getting the other characters and vice versa. So it very much encouraged multiple playthroughs, but more than that, the big thing is that it had 80 endings. And the way I like to put it is, this is the way I wanted Mass Effect 3 to end. Now, you're sitting here, you're going, 80 endings, how's that possible? Well, it's not literally 80 endings, it's 80 ending pieces. And when you beat the game, you can get like a maximum of 10 endings. So you need to beat the game like 8 or 9 times to see everything. So what I mean by that is there's like 2 or 3 like core endings. That's like, if you did this in this town or did this in this town, that would alter this part of the ending or add in an extra scene in the ending. But the major thing was the pair endings. Every single character has a different relationship chart with every single other character in your party. And as such, each pair has a different ending, and that does include same-sex pairs. Now, I'm going to be real with y'all. Those are generally just like, yo, we're best bros now. But that's never stopped a Fujoshi before. Back when I was in high school, I knew a bunch of Fujoshis who were massive Star Ocean 2 fans because they could pair up any guy with any other guy, and they went nuts with that. And you know what? I respect that. It's a really cool element of the game, and that's sort of the thing that makes it cool. Unfortunately, I hate the battle system. I hate the battle system in every Star Ocean except the Divine Force, which I love Star Ocean, the Divine Force. And I was hoping I would like it more here. It definitely feels better. It feels faster and more responsive, but I feel like I don't have enough options. But they are telling me that there's going to be new assists that you can call in, including characters from Star Ocean, the Divine Force. So maybe the assist system will make the battle system more tolerable. Basically, I'm picking this game up anyway, despite the fact that I'm a little iffy on it. Me and this game have an awkward history, but I'm glad we're getting it. Because here's the thing. Star Ocean 2 came out, then they did a remaster on PSP alongside Star Ocean 1. And those did get released in North America. And then they took those remasters and they ported them to like PS4 and Switch in Japan. And they released the first remaster in America, but not the second. And Star Ocean: The Divine Force has nearly bankrupted the developers. And there were a lot of people who were like, oh my gosh, release the second game, release the second game. Why is this stuck in Japan? You already have a translation, just release it over here. And rather than just releasing the PSP version, they went ahead and got, nah, 2D HD remake, let's go all in. And I'm so happy they're doing that because, well, yeah, if nothing else, Star Ocean 2 will get a last hurrah. That's awesome. Can't wait to give this game a shot. And so now, at long last, this brings us to the main stuff that everyone is talking about. Starting with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Of course I'm hyped for this. It has playable Daisy, which is a thing that I've always wanted in a Mario platformer, because I, like every other Daisy fan, is completely crazed, and I should probably do a video explaining why all Daisy fans are completely deranged. But the thing that I really love is the immediate reaction that everyone had. They saw it and they were like, oh, is this another new Super Mario Brothers game? Lame. And then very shortly after, they're like, wait, no. This looks too good. This isn't just new Super Mario Brothers. This is something special. And Indeed it is, and it's kind of funny to, like, realize why that is. Like, this really feels like a proper new Mario game. Because here's the thing. New Super Mario Bros., when it first came out on DS, was huge. It sold stupid numbers, and it's easy to see why. Because it was Mario returning to his 2D roots, which he hadn't done. He hadn't done that in years. Like, decades. So, people were super excited, and the general consensus was positive. Well, relatively positive. Like, most people were like, okay, it's not as good as Mario 3 and Mario World, but it's just great to see a new 2D Super Mario Brothers, which, okay, fine. But it did so well that Nintendo was like, we gotta make a sequel to this. And so they made a bunch of sequels, and they got more and more dry, because they were so basic, they were so unadventurous. And people like, these games are fine, but they're not anything special. They were closest Nintendo came to going shovelware with Mario. Like, they were okay, but they weren't great. And I love a friend of mine's interpretation of Mario Maker. He actually used to work at Nintendo, and he was like, okay, fine, you make the new Super Mario Brothers yourself. And that went off really well, and that's what we got. And I think that's why Mario Wonder is so special, because now, if you were just going to make a basic new Super Mario Brothers level, you could just shard it out in Mario Maker. There's so many levels in Mario Maker. So with Mario Wonder, they had to make something you can't make in Mario Maker. And I think that's big. I love the fact that it has so many playable characters. That's actually what I really hoped they'd do with 3D World. I was so happy when Mario 3D World gave us, playable Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Peach, and then, Rosalina at the end. I was like, okay, this is really good. When they port this to Switch, they should add more characters, and then they didn't. And now, finally, they are. And they're also finally fixing the mistake of New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Remember that was announced, and they were like, oh yeah, it's 4-player, Mario, Luigi, and 2 Toads. There was like, wait, where's Peach? They're like, oh, the dress physics, because she can float, and that'll break the game. Yeah, well, now they've solved the problem. She just won't float. Easy peasy. What I really love is why Daisy's in the game. Apparently, the director of the game has 2 daughters, and they always fight over who gets to play as Peach. So he put Daisy in there to, like, maybe try to calm them down. Good call. You're using Daisy for, like, pretty much the entire reason why she exists. I am very happy about this. Now, it'd be nice if you'd put Rosalina and Pauline in there, too. But even still, I'm happy that we actually get Daisy. That is awesome. And yes, I said the director of the game. In case you're unfamiliar, starting with 3D World, Shigeru Miyamoto is trying to step away from the Mario series because he'd like to retire one day. He's still there in an advisory role, but he's trying to, like, train some kind of a new generation to take over for him because he's old. He wants to retire. He'd really, really like to stop being relied on so much. And what's more, he has a lot of franchises he's relied on for. So yeah, I'm putting it in new hands, and it sounds like they might be doing good. And just, oh my gosh, I can't wait to play the game. And I don't get why even as someone who is just as online as everyone else, I'm like, I don't see the problem with the elephants. They're just elephants. I think Nintendo's just given up on trying to prevent the internet from being weird. Moving on, one of the funniest things, though, is like the week before Mario Wonder comes out is Sonic Superstars. And I am laughing my balls off at this because, oh, what do you know? It's a new classic 2D Sonic game with 4-player co-op. It's like the old rivalry is back. Now, I'm going to be blunt. I was immediately disappointed in Sonic Superstars because from the name, I thought it would have like a bunch of different playable Sonic characters. And then I see it and it's just Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. And apparently Retro Rabbit Sonic is in there, I guess. I was really disappointed in that because I actually like the Sonic-styled characters and really wish Sega would make a game that actually utilized them all. Like, it doesn't have to be a mainline Sonic game. It could be a Sonic Riders or a Sonic the Fighters or some kind of weird Sonic sports game. I don't give a crap. Just give me a game that lets me, like, play as Marine, okay? Like, let me play as some of these more obscure Sonic characters. And, yeah, so I was disappointed it was classic Sonic because that limits what characters they can put in the game. But at the same time, I'm pretty interested in playing it. I was a little worried because apparently it's being made by Arzest, which are the people who did Yoshi's New Island on the DS and Balan Wonderworld, so they don't have the greatest track record. Like, they've made a lot of games that are very mid, but everyone who's played it is saying that it works really well, and so I'm excited to try it. I'm hoping it's well optimized on Switch. Sega does really pay attention to that with Sonic games, because they know that Sonic games sell the best on Switch, on Nintendo platforms just in general, so yeah, they are paying attention to that. And of course, Mario RPG Remake. Yes, I am very, very excited about this. Well, not as excited as everyone else. I like Mario RPG. I'm not super obsessed with it, but what makes me happy is that they're doing a thing I always wanted them to do, which is redo the pre-rendered graphics of the past, but in real time. And, like, I always wanted Donkey Kong Country to do that. Killer Instinct almost did that with the classic costumes, and I really love that. And I love that they're just doing that here. Just give us the old graphics, but in real time. And I love it. I love it just for the visual style. They are adding in new things. We get team-up attacks and the ability to hit multiple enemies, but now there's going to be rematches, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be very fun. But, of course, this brings us to the real star of the freaking show. Princess Peach Showtime. Yes, yes, a million times yes. And can we all just laugh at all the people who are like, oh, it's Super Princess Peach too? What the heck made you think that? Like, no, seriously. In the first teaser trailer, everyone's like, oh, it's Super Princess Peach too. And I'm like, no, she's on a stage and she's talking to things. I thought it was going to be an RPG. I wasn't expecting side-scrolling hack and slash. Well, as one of the things. I'm going to be blunt. When I saw that scene, I was like, I had the most mixed feelings because it looks really fun, but I'm like, this doesn't seem very Peachy, though. This feels like a cop-out. Oh, it stars Peach, but she's just gonna transform into a sword fighter. And then they showed, oh, wait, detective, patissier, kung fu. Apparently there's gonna be ninja and cowgirl based on these doors here. Okay, now we're talking. And some people have pointed out that with the ribbon and everything, it has some real classic 80s magical girl vibe, and I am in complete agreement there, because before Sailor Moon, one of the popular magical girl powers was the ability to transform into an adult of various vocations, different jobs, and instantly gaining those skills through magical clothing transformations. That's what Minky Momo did. That's actually what the manga version of Fushigi no Melmo did. And of course, that's what Cutie Honey did. So it's cool to see Peach doing that, in which case there darn well better be an idol singer Peach that leads to a music minigame. But yes, like many other people, it's great seeing Peach get her own game, and it makes perfect sense after the Mario movie. In fact, that's one of the things I really noticed here. Did you notice the thing? Peach is playable in Mario Wonder, Peach is playable in Mario RPG, and I don't know much about Thousand Year Door, but I found it very interesting that they highlighted that scene with Peach. Some people are joking that this is the year of Peach, and may as well be. I think the Mario movie was a big wake-up call, because according to legend, Illumination originally wanted to make Peach basically the main character and have Mario be a bumbling idiot, and Nintendo had to come in with the shock collars and reel them in, and what we wound up with in the end was really great, making Peach a leader and a mentor character, but there was still a bit of criticism for that. And I think that caused Nintendo to realize that, number one, people really like Peach, and number two, people don't actually understand Peach. Like, there's a lot of people who think that the character needs to be, like, altered or changed and is outdated in some way. And I think what they're trying to do here with Princess Peach Showtime is to go, no, you don't need to change anything. Peach can walk around with a battle axe, except it should be a rapier and not an axe. You can do that same thing without drastically altering the character, and it feels like they're showing that, and so I'm very excited about that. But here's the thing that I think a lot of people are missing: this is a new game from Nintendo, like almost a new IP, not because it's still Mario, but like. This is like the Peach equivalent of Wario Land or Luigi's Mansion. This could be the start of a new series. It does, if nothing else, have new gameplay. And that's pretty exciting because Nintendo doesn't do that very often. I mean, last time they did that was ARMS. Who remembers ARMS? I remember ARMS. I bought the Switch for ARMS. So, but even still, that's pretty exciting, and that does mean that it's going to have a certain degree of quality to it, which I'm definitely seeing and definitely has me excited. This is going to be a big game, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. Of course, it helps that Peach is very important in my house. You see, I have an older sister and a mother who also play video games, and so when we got our NES, we got it with Kid Nicky and Mario 2, and we all played the princess in Mario 2, and every single time a new Mario game comes out, my mother asks, is the princess playable in this? And if you're wondering about Super Princess Peach, she didn't just buy that game, she imported that game. There was a local import shop, and when she saw that game, she immediately bought a pink DS Lite and a copy of the game. Just on the spot in Japanese, let's freaking go. So yes, this is kind of a big deal. We're a Peach household here. Well, sort of. The only character more important than Princess Peach is Pauline, and she's in Mario. She's coming to Mario Kart. I'm very happy about that. Long story, my older sister was a big fan of the old Donkey Kong cartoon from Ruby Spears, specifically their portrayal of Pauline in that, so she's a big Pauline fan, and so it's great that she's coming back as well. But yeah, no, Princess Peach Showtime, I am over the moon for this. I'm a little concerned, because I don't see a lot of platforming. I do see a lot of talking. Games that do the whole multi-genre thing have a bad tendency for one or more of the genres they attempt to be kind of half-baked and suck. So that could be a problem, but at the same time, this is a major Nintendo release, so I think they're going to definitely have some quality there. But what makes me actually really intrigued about this is the realization that every single Nintendo Direct features one main, like, big Nintendo release. This time it was Princess Peach Showtime. Last time it was Mario Wonder. Before that, Pikmin 4. Before that, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Before that, Fire Emblem Engage. Like, they've been on this. They do a new Direct every quarter, and every quarter they are putting out a new major first-party release. And they might not appeal to everyone, but they're still, like, really big releases. And this is sort of my favorite thing about Nintendo, because, yes, Sony also, has their big first-party releases, but they do them, like, every year at best. Whereas Nintendo's doing them every quarter, and here someone will go, yeah, but the Sony ones are these big-budget AAA cinematic games. Exactly. That's the problem with them. Because when you're doing the big-budget AAA cinematic game, you're trying to make a game that appeals to the widest audience possible, so that way you're not wasting your money. And it also means that the games are coming out at a lower rate. And this has actually been really interesting amongst PC gamers, because Sony famously has a bunch of these, like, really heavily raved about AAA game releases. And so some PC gamers, now that the PS4 is dropping in price, they get one of those cheap, they get a pile of all the big Sony games, they play them all back to back, and they're like, these are all the same game, and they get super disappointed. And it's not a problem if you're actually playing them when they come out. Having one new big third-person cinematic story-driven game a year is great. But when you sit down and try to play them all back to back, it's like, wait a second, these are all the same genre. This is kind of weird. And I'm just going to be blunt. I don't like AAA gaming. I don't like AAA gaming because I have weird taste, and when you try to make a game that appeals to the widest audience possible, I slip through the cracks. Whereas when you take the Nintendo approach, where they're making, I guess, what we call single A and double A games now. They're making a little more middle market-y games. Those are the kind of games I like. It means they can take risks. They can make games that don't appeal to this massive swath of people. Not everyone is going to give a crap about Princess Peach Showtime, but those that do care hard. And I'm really impressed that they're able to do this. I'm like, of course, this is it. This is why the Directs have me hyped, unlike the State of Plays. The State of Plays are trying to appeal to the widest mainstream audience. because, that's what they're going for. And I'm not part of that audience. The Nintendo Directs, meanwhile, are just completely scattershot, random, weird crap. And some of it you're going to be super hyped about, and some of it you'll just be scratching your head and going, what? But every game that you look at that you're scratching your head and going, who cares about this? Someone else, somewhere out there, is utterly losing their mind over it. And, well, that would be me. These last 2 Directs have been great. This is a great example of why the Switch is my primary gaming platform, because it keeps coming out with the kind of weirdo crap that makes me happy. The stuff that I actually like. It also helps that Nintendo has one other thing, and that's 90% of the Japanese gaming market. For those unfamiliar, Sony unceremoniously backstabbed the entire country of Japan. It's not just the fact that they have crazy censorship that's preventing people from making the lewd games they want. It's also the fact that they've been making their games for the West. The PS5 is designed for a Western audience. Sony is now situated in America. If you want to submit a game to Sony, you have to do it in the middle of the night in Japan because that's US business hours. And Japanese games have to pass both CERO and ESRB certification, so they get like double criticized. And Sony's new, and on top of that, Sony just hasn't cared about Japan. Notice that all their big AAA games, they're Western. They haven't been bankrolling Japanese games. And when they do, they're these Japanese games that specifically cater to a Western audience. It's so bad that when they did the trailer for the PlayStation 5 in Japan, apparently it was in English with unreadable Japanese subtitles, because they couldn't tell that the font was unreadable because no one at Sony speaks Japanese anymore. Pretty much all of Sony Japan quit. Their Sony Japan studio is gone. They walked the fuck out. That's why they closed them. No one was left. What little exists, Team Asobi? That's a French team. Sony Japan is a French company now. Japanese players feel deeply backstabbed by Sony. They feel betrayed. And so Nintendo has 90% of the Japanese gaming market. And yeah, Japan only makes up 10% of the global gaming market, but that's a free 9% that's being completely ignored. And it's always important to remember that just because games that appeal to Japanese audiences are not the kind of stuff that appeals to a mainstream Western audience, it does still appeal to people in the West, i.e. me. Those are the games I like. That's what I live off of. I'm sorry, that freaking Mameda Bakeru looks way cooler than anything I'm seeing out of Sony. That's the kind of game I want. I want something colorful and cartoony and action-packed and unique and weird, and it doesn't have to have the best graphics and the biggest budget. It just has to be something fresh. And also, I'm an anti-realist. I hate realism. If I wanted realism, I'd go outside, and clearly I don't. So, give me something else. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. As I said, Pauline in Mario Kart has me very excited. Glad to see her there. And I should probably mention Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I've never played the game, but I remember that when the Mario RPG remake was announced, a couple people were really salty and shouting, why isn't this Thousand Year Door? They should remake Thousand Year Door instead. It's a better game. And now it's like, oh, we're getting that too. Now everyone's happy. Well, except the Mario and Luigi fans. Someone pointed that out, that Mario and Luigi is the only Mario RPG series that is that's getting snubbed right now. So can we get like a Mario and Luigi collection at least, please? I mean, I know the developers went out of business, but you could still do a collection. Either way, I will give Thousand Year Door a chance with this remake. I'm glad it's getting one. I'm glad more people are happy. I really want to know what's up with that Peach scene. Like, are they adding in a new Peach section of the game, or am I just misinterpreting that? Whatever. I'm happy. Everyone else is happy about that. I'll give it a spin. Everyone said it's a good time. And yeah, no. I think the Direct was great. And I also don't think we're getting a Switch 2 until 2025? 2026? I'm sure it's in development, but but that's a story for another time. I literally have a second video I've almost completely scripted about my own anti-theory, because I'm getting really sick of people just being so 100% sure we're totally getting a Switch 2. I don't believe any of the leaks. I just don't believe. I am 38 years old. I've been on this ride a couple times before, okay? I don't believe any of it. Anyway, though, great Direct. Lots of great games coming. Super excited. I guess the question is, which game am I most excited for? Probably Unicorn Overlord. And Princess Peach Showtime. Yeah, Unicorn Overlord and Princess Peach Showtime. Those are the two I'm most excited for. Anyway, this is Joe. You've been Game Babbled. Catch y'all next time. See ya.